Good day, and welcome back to the channel. I've got the 445 out of the shed because I'm ready to put the first coat of paint on the 335. I've spent the last week bondoing and sanding and doing all of the tedious stuff that has to be done in order to get to this point, and I didn't put a lot of it on film because there just isn't a whole lot to show. But let's take a walk over to the shed and I will show you where we're at. Much like when we did the primer, I've got my Minneapolis Moline wind chime all set up. I've got the hood and side panels all ready for paint. I went through and degreased everything just a little bit ago. This is how the Bondo and everything turned out on that patch that I made. So I'm hoping that the paint is going to cover this well and you'll never even know it was there. I've got the fenders over here, also quite a bit of Bondo work on those. Another side panel. The main chassis. I went through with the degreaser and then I went through with a Scotch-Brite pad and just scuffed it up a little bit. It's amazing how much dirt was on this thing just from 1 year of sitting in here doing nothing. It was already pretty dirty and greasy and grimy. Got all the taping done, everything's ready to go. I got a little bit of plastic left to put up, but for the most part everything that I worried about covering with plastic is covered. I've got the Prairie Gold #1 ready to go. I've got a 5-gallon pail that I'm going to mix 2 1-gallon containers together because I know I'm going to need more than 1 gallon to do all of this, at least the amount of coats that I have to do. And I want to make sure that even from this can to this can there's probably going to be disparity in the color, so I want to make sure that the color is the same all the way through. I've got the main chassis to paint. I've got all the extra pieces from the Z that are over here ready for paint. So it's going to take quite a bit of paint to get all of this stuff covered. But we're ready to go. I'm ready to get it under Prairie Gold. I'll bring you back when we get there. Alright, so here's the outcome of coat number 1. For the most part, looks pretty good. I like how dark it went on. I think a lot of that had to do with that primer that I used, that self-etching. It really made it dark, and you could see here I'm not real good at taking my time, keeping a good distance, and I got some runs there from putting too much on. I don't consistently tell myself to slow down, but it's only coat 1. Take a little bit of sandpaper to it and get rid of some of that runniness and put coat number 2 on, and hopefully I can clean most of that up. I'm pretty happy with the panels. Overall, there I did tell myself to slow down and keep a good distance, and had a pretty good outcome. It's a little bit thin, but again, I didn't want to go too heavy, knowing that I still have another coat, if not 2, to go. I have one little Bondo spot that I'm not happy about right there, that I thought I had it sanded out flush enough, and I don't. But I think this is going to dry into a really nice coat. Got some runs on this stuff I have to sand out too. I went through 1 entire gallon of paint. I ended up putting a full gallon back out of the 5-gallon bucket, and then I had just a little quart, less than an eighth of a quart, that I was able to save for like touch-up paint later on. And so I'm guessing it's probably going to take me about less than half of the gallon to do the second and third coat. It'll take considerably less. So I'll probably have about a half a gallon, maybe a little more than a half a gallon left over when I'm done. But yeah, we will move on to the second coat, and then I'll bring you back when that coat's on and we'll take another look. The other thing that I'm not super fond of is I tried to lay it out so I had enough room to move around, but it's still just not quite enough, which is like always the case, right? You just never have the amount of room that you want. So as I was painting this panel, I made sure to do this last, because I knew that I wanted to A, take my time, and B, make sure that when this was done there wasn't going to be any overspray from all the other stuff after that. And then, so in doing this last, I was bumping into the fuel tank, I was bumping into this battery bracket. I stepped too far back once, and you can see down in the corner I just dinged the bottom of that fender. So just not quite enough room. Better than I've done in the past, but oh well. We'll move on to coat 2. Okay, I'm prepping to put on coat number 2. I went through and flipped all my bars around so I can make sure I get the back side of everything that I didn't get the first time. You see, I got that steering shaft turned around so I can get all of that. I went through and sanded down the spots that I had the bad, ugly looking drips. I sanded this back off in hopes that I can make that look a little better than it did. Sanded down some of this stuff, and now I'm ready to put on coat 2. So that's what we're gonna do, and then tomorrow, after coat 2 is dry, we'll evaluate whether or not we need a coat 3. And on some of this stuff it won't need a coat 3, so we'll thin some of this out before I shoot the 3rd round. These panels have to get flipped around so I can coat the inside, because I haven't done any of that yet. But I'm going to get the first 2 coats on them, and then I'll worry about getting the back sides. The hood and the side fenders, you really don't see a whole lot of that when it's on the tractor, so I'm not too concerned about it. The fenders, on the other hand, you do see the back side of the fenders, so that I've got to get painted relatively well. All right, let's get to it. Coat 2. I'm really happy with how the hood turned out. The hood looks fantastic, if I don't say so myself. This fender panel looks fantastic, other than I had a drip last time that I didn't see right there. That's going to shine really nice. The Bondo work, you can still see I didn't get the curvature right. It looks better than it did, but still not going to look great. And then the thing that really ticked me off was right at the very end. I put on just a little too much and ended up with that. So I'm going to have to try to clean that up tomorrow. The chassis, I got all those drips out of there. That looks so much better than it did. Coated on really nice again. This time I went through a third the amount of paint that I did through the first round, so I've still got well over half a quart left, or half a gallon, excuse me. Alright, this gets to sit for 24 hours. And then I've got to take these panels and those 2 panels and flip them. So that'll be tomorrow's project, along with I have to determine whether or not I'm going to actually try to take that out or if I'm just going to leave it. I have a feeling if I try to take it out, it's probably going to make it worse. But it's not necessarily true, because I didn't make it worse on the hood here. I got that blemish out. I think that looks way better than it did. So, I don't know. I really, it bothers me. But, okay, that's it for coat 2. We'll do one more time lapse tomorrow of finishing up coat number 3. And then the undersides of everything, and I'm going to thin some of this out. There's not a lot of this stuff that needs a third coat. So it's coming down, it's going to get put out of the way, and I'll have a whole lot more space to play starting tomorrow. Okay, we'll do a quick walk around after coat 2 has dried for 24 hours. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks really good. I think it looks really good. It covered really nice. So as far as the chassis goes, I'm leaving it at 2 coats. I think it looks awesome. Fenders. Of course, now that the paint is on, I can see some more dings that I didn't get out. But it is what it is at this point. The paint looks really nice. From a distance, it's going to look really good. Up close is where you're going to see some of the dings, but for the most part, I'm going to strip all this down, get it all off the rack, and then anything that I find that needs a little extra, I'll leave on there. And then I got to get these all flipped around and start coating the inside. Same with the fenders here, I got to get them turned around and start coating the other side. So that's all I really have left for paint. So we'll throw the third coat time lapse up, and that'll pretty much be the end of this one. We've got some impending weather, so I got to get moving here. We're gonna get some storms tonight. Okay, so the clouds opened up and it raineth down, but I got the third coat on, what I think is going to be the last coat, but we'll see how it looks tomorrow or Thursday. But yeah, we just got absolutely drenched. So that's where the so that's where this one's gonna end. The next time that you see it will be pretty close to when I'd be putting it together. So stay tuned, and for those of you that have subscribed, thank you. Take your foot off the clutch. Thanks everybody.